Alright. That's all. That's on. So, let's talk about sweating some more. There's even more to talk about sweating, right? So, let's dive straight into it, and at the end, we'll do a recap of all of it. So if you haven't seen it, you'll be able to watch it, and if you've seen it, then you can just watch it, right? It will be perfect. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which is something that might not be super obvious to everyone, but the most basic way to play quintuplets is probably playing hi-hat and then making that 5 notes instead of 4, right? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. So, knowing this, we could probably play all of sweating using this as our foundational grid to trampoline off of, right? Leading rates, going up and down your subdivision ladder, whatever you want to call it, right? So, the song starts and you're... That's what I want to talk about. That's a way to play 2 different stickings that are so close to one another that they're basically the same thing. Yet one sounds way more busy than the other one, right? And it's really just one note being added, but it does such a difference within a groove setting. So what we did was we took our Flamfives, right, which is a flam on our 5-stroke roll, and we kind of realized that this was, in fact, a Flamtap, right? With the flam. So, if you have one of your doubles having that, and one of your doubles is naked from a flam, well, just put a flam there, and suddenly you're in your Flamtap language, which is the other thing, which was a huge fundamental rudiment that you need to have down to play sweating, right? So now we're kind of talking, because now we have these 3 things put into this essentially one thing. So there's a huge contrast there, and it's basically the same thing. So you could technically play the whole song with this, right? This, and then maybe some pinches and some little textures, but that's not going to be so hard once you find your quintuplet grid. We have a brand new system that we can bring to sweating, and get that down too, you know. And that's a cool one because I mean it's for sure one Dana does. It's logical, has some Swiss background, so it's probably part of a Swiss march. I mean everything about it, right? Because I mean like there's this deep relationship that I want to touch on between Swiss drumming and French drumming. And in French, which colonized Haiti, right? So that's how you kind of find like, you know, all of those Creole cats, they have so much Swiss and French stickings because it's probably like what they heard lots was French marching bands and colonial marching snare music, right? So like it for sure influenced them, and like it's just part of Creole, right? Like if you look at the watch tower in Creole, it's called Tour de Garde, and it's just a bunch of French with a lot of W's and S's thrown in there, you know, like it's basically French. So the like drumming has some of that, because if we start to take Efrain Toro and how he speaks of language and the amount of frequencies within your vocal, like the way that you talk, right? Like if you have a French accent or a Mexican, and like there's different frequencies and you're hearing music from a different lens, where some will be playing in 4 but listening to it in 5 or in 6. Some of these tribal jungle cult and African cultures, right? Like, and that's why you can take something like Bende, and then, which is the Afro-Cuban version of Naningo, and have the same sticking paradiddle feel and sound completely different. Sure, Bende has one more hit, but it's really not like a significant hit. It doesn't cause any real syncopation. Like, it's basically the same thing, but it feels so different, and it's because of the way that they're hearing it in the African cultures is just not the same as those Cuban cats. So now that we looked at that, we're going to talk about how this sticking is probably good to bring to your hi-hats. So a cool thing to like do is to put your snare drum on the first one and on like the first accent of your Flamfives, and then your last one goes in high hi-hat. This is a bit harder than the other version, than going like that, because you're gonna have to move, but right, and then you're gonna also do the same thing on snare. And you're like, this is gonna really work your hands, because there's a lot of flams. And the next logical thing is to add another flam, right? So if we look at it, we have double, and both of those have a flam, and then we have a single. So we might as well put a flam on that single. So see, that's more a cool fill, but you can throw it inside there, right? Like you could technically play that as a groove and just really focus on your dynamics. And if you were to practice that for 5 minutes straight, you could probably find like exactly where it sits nicely into the song. And I mean, that's a cool phrase that I think you could do slower. So two rates and have this like impactful thing. So now let's talk about the drum channel. And yesterday they had a revelation that Scott Pellegrin shared about Johnny Rabb. And it's something that, I mean, I saw Nick do a lot. And it's in a lot of our heads, right? Dude, dude, who would have thought that that was a paradiddle 5, right? So if we're going to look at sweating and keep it, bringing it back, if we're playing your paradiddle 5 foundation, right? Well, just start bringing it up to as many rates as you can until it sounds like the drum and bass stuff. And that's cool because you're not changing your sticking at all. And you're kind of making it simpler because instead of going from quarter time, you're going to go to the Anaconals way, which is 1 bar, and each bar has an upbeat and a downbeat, right? Well, I mean, that's it, like that's how her way is, and we can talk about that for 1 sec. I mean, the way she does it is. And what's cool about her way is that you can start to put dots in between, right? And then you can bring that back to all your other systems. And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a dot 4 in between. Like start playing like those in-betweenies of the in-betweenies. But that's pretty much how she does it. Right? So if now we're kind of in that mode too. Because we're only going paradiddle tap, paradiddle tap. So it's like if you're reeling something in and out inside the ocean of the universe trying to catch a moment, right? So what were we talking about? Fast drum and bass stuff. So we should talk about, really just remind you that sweating is quarter time, which means downbeat, upbeat, downbeat, upbeat, and then rates, which is normally 5. But sometimes we trampoline to 6 or to 7 or to 8, like this drum and bass thing. Because when you're going to be in your full drum and bass mode, that's 8. That's your rate of 8. So you can use this as a door to go from your paradiddle tap to everything else, to big fills, right? And, they don't have to be hard, because these are fast. So, you're going to do just stuff like that. And you see there, you need to think about that too. With all of your fills that are kick, hand, and foot, run them through the same grid. You saw one. rate to another and back always creates a moment. As long as your dynamics are dialed and you're really thinking about like the space that's gonna happen, you know, and just like how it's gonna feel, you know, how it's like and that was wrong. You see, when I was actually doing it, had a moment while I was actually inside the creating the psychological workplace, which is my weird little round. So sweating, you can start playing drum and bass stuff. What a revelation. Rabb DVD, and I can attest that was not in it, and if that was in it, I think we'd all be a lot better drummers. You know, that 30 days to better hands. It's there somewhere. Right. So let's just recap everything that is sweating. So you're gonna find a quintuplet grid by playing singles in 4 and then moving one rate up, and it's gonna look like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, and you're gonna do that, and you're gonna go back to 5, because sweating isn't 5. And the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna practice doing this with a kick on each one, and then grading your accents with open hi-hats, because sweating is all about opening the open hi-hat at displaced places, and bordering your upbeats or downbeats with an open hi-hat is also one of the main tools that Dana is using to create moments of tension and release and space within busy playing space, you know. So you're gonna do that. And then the next thing you're going to do is listen to the song again and realize that the song starts with calibrating yourself to the quintuplet grid with doubles. So you're going to just do that. You're gonna get used to that, and now the first thing he plays, which is super like, it kind of will leave you scratching your head for a moment, but it's a shuffle. So you want to get used to just playing a shuffle over the quintuplet grid and seeing where your accent is, and it's gonna move around 3 times. It's not that hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then there's a kick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. 1, 2. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. that's pretty much the first thing he does after his little fill. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now instead of keeping that displacement going like I showed you, you're gonna do a Ratamacue, right? But you're gonna mirror it. And now, the next time you have a double kick, you're gonna play double, like Flamtaps. And then the second time you go to play your like Flamtaps, you're gonna go and that's bordering your downbeat. And now the next thing you're gonna do is go to our hi-hat opening grid and do the fourth. So 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3. And then you're gonna do a Bonham type of flam triplet, but that's less on the triplet grid and more of a one statement, you know, like kind of what I showed you before, where I was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but then doing stuff in between. So the next thing that I want to talk about, since we're talking about this, is within your big fills, one of the cool things that you can do, right, is when you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is start playing 3 notes with your hand instead of 2. And it will become like a group of 5 quintuplet, like it will become like dimensional and just more busy, and it's pretty much there's room to like do it because you're only in 5. You're not even in your 6 tuplets or 7 tuplets or 8. So there is room to like do that, and then you can get really wacky and start accenting different partials of those like 3, you know, and now you're getting into the Mike Johnson stuff where he tells you to go. Well, I'm telling you to do the same thing, but in quintuplets, and there's 3 notes. Right? Can get really wild with that. Really wild. And it sounds good because you're doing accents and fills and kicks, you know, like it's the whole package is going on, and that's what you're looking for. I mean, I guess what I haven't talked about with this song is not so much like being autistic about all the different groove variations that he does, but how to get through the solos. And I mean, that's playing this song 10 times in a row for a month until you can play a solo that long, and playing lots of those songs, Tony Roy Jr., ASP, and just all the songs that end with long solos. I mean, start throwing those inside your set, because I mean, it's kind of a different thing. It doesn't even matter how crazy your fills are at some point. That's not what makes it hard. What makes it hard is that you have to solo for so long and keep it and keep it rich and not just be fucking blah nonsense. So, I mean, it's always good to go back to your 4 stuff, and that's why Chon sounds good, right? Because as autistic as Brian is with his grooves, he's obsessed with Chris Coleman and pop punk type of pocket, you know, the shout. Same thing, shout, pop punk, you know. It's an important pocket to have down. But if it's the only one that you have down, you're probably in deep trouble when you're trying to play sweatn. All right, but so yeah, you're gonna have to start doing the Sean type of stuff. So it's gonna become it's gonna become fours and stacking fours into like fours and threes into 12s, right? And if you have a solid base of just doing that, like that's all you need to play those solos. Like there's not much weirdo stickings going on when it comes to solo time for a lot of Evan songs. Like all of the fancy stuff is in the other part, you know, like, and the solos are punches and just having fun playing your eights. And you know, like once like you find that zone where you can bounce and just it's just having fun and kind of warming up your soul, warming up your body, you know, it's fucking worship, pushing yourself towards the fucking, the like heavens, right? Right, so we talked about the Ratamacue for static. We talked about double flams. Obviously, there's all the Swiss basil stuff, which, I mean, we talked about some of it, but we can talk about putting 9-stroke roll into 5-stroke. Right? Right, it's just accent, double, 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 accent. Well, 5 notes. Accent, double, 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 accent, double, 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 right? That's really cool. You have the final 7. And then doubling that third accent. You know, like. Cool one to throw in with your double bass. Into the first like verse, always do this. No matter what you improvise everywhere else, keep that the like same, because it's a good starting point to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and everyone is gonna get it. You know, okay, this song is in 5. You know, and at first you're not sure. And then you have your first fill, and then you do stuff. But then the next time you have that fill, it has to go. Having that kind of stuff going on. And the other thing we didn't talk about, which is something that we can talk about, is what I was doing there was bringing the 6/8 and the Naningo vibe by playing paradiddle 5, right? And then going one rate up and just playing Naningo. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's like pretty cool. Going from using Naningo. And whenever you do that, you can do a paradiddle diddle, and then that brings you back to drum and bass stuff. So you do the 5, the paradiddle tap to do a displacement, and then to undo it, just do a paradiddle, and it should add the like note that. 6 plus 6 is 12, and that makes 4, right? Showed you, and what's cool about that and sweatn is that you're being quarter time, so technically you can make a pattern that is 20 long, right? 20 partials long. So get like porcupine tree style, you know? Ratamacue is you really don't want to be too aggressive and ruin your quintuplet grid, because you'll have the tendency to do it like that. But it's not that, it's in quintuplets. See, you can't rush it. If not, it won't be in quintuplets and it will sound yucky. Right? So it's really important that like that's a finesse point. It's not a point of busyness. The Ratamacue stuff is a point of finesse and static. Has nothing to do with trying to impress. Right? Like, that's not the part, that's not the goal of this song. You know, like, it's super complicated to play and it's really rich. But it's not really trying to, like, the bass solo is amazing, but the drumming is just so rich and like non-evasive even when it's all crazy. Once you've done all of these separately, you're gonna realize that you can't even mess up the song. Cause no matter what sticking you mess up, you're gonna have an adjacent one right there, you know? Like, and it's not even messing up, but it's just like not thinking fast enough, you know? So I was going, and then I wanted to play that like thing, right? And I messed it up. So instead, I just went, you know, 1, 2, 3, instead, because I wasn't like, I wasn't prepared enough to like do this new thing that I'm working on. Which is why I'm showing you guys, because it's a cool thing that I found, and I think that for the ones that are trying to find like one of the best ways to go from simple to hard and not have to learn all of them, it's one of the good ones, especially for the bass solo, where it makes more sense. All of that stuff that like he does, like if you want to know what that was about, that's some samba stuff, right? Terry Bozzio, Samba Usado. Right, that a song? Well, within that song, when you start getting really crazy and you go back to right? One of the cool things that you like can do is start reversing your triple flams. So when you were in sweating, your like triples were here, and these were the accents. Well, now you're gonna reverse that, right? So you do stuff like that, but you play the samba language. So like a lot of that is gonna be like there's gonna be accents in between, right? Latin stuff, and it kind of works if you just spice it, if you just sprinkle it in for a second and take it away like I did. But it's cool, you know, like all those samba grooves. It's kind of mixing. lines, and that kind of creates. So that's cool stuff, and it works well in the bass solo. So I mean, now we're really getting into a complete quintuplet course, right? I mean, there's almost nothing left, right? Like, you can start putting in different groupings, like 6, 7, into your 5, you know? Kind of stuff. And I mean, that's gonna sound good closer to like the end, right? Ways of getting around to hit your punches, right? Like, you have to look at stuff like glue, accents, street signs, and like post, right? Like, this is like your post, and you have to land there, because if you land somewhere else, you're gonna fall into the eternity of nothingness, right? You're not going to land. So what you have to realize is just the glue. To have some kind of crescendo going on. That's why the Swiss stuff is so great, because there's a bunch of crescendos built into it, right? Like, and like, it makes it super interesting when things move around, up and down, and you just want to get used to playing this song like every single way possible, and that's how it's gonna sound the best. That's how it's gonna start sounding like Dana, right? Is when, like, no matter how you play it, it sounds like the song. That's when you know you practiced it enough to start telling other folks, like, how it's done. Do is create your accents and kicks all over your paradiddle 5. like I did there that were in the 8 grid. So you're playing in quintuplets, but then the hits that you hit are in 8, you know? That's like a funky type of juggling act. Right? So we pretty much talk about everything, right? Like, what? Oh yeah, quintuplets. Quintuplets can do it with dominoes beat, right? I do that in fluffy, like. Without the song, that's so weird. It's so weird without fluffy. Like, it makes so much sense in fluffy because you're in quintuplets, and it's like, and then it goes right. Doing that in quintuplets inside a song is pretty weird. Like, it's not that hard, right? That's what's funny about it, is that if you would imagine Domino playing fluffy, that's probably what she would do. She would probably not even play it in quintuplets, you know, but that's what she does. That's what she does, and I'm not even sure she can do the left hand leads of like what I just did there, you know. And if you want to know the trick about that, it's really quite a simple trick. It's just a secret that no one tells you. Using your unison, it's gonna literally teach you to do that kind of stuff, right? The disco thing is unisons. Like, that's like, disco was a lot more complicated than people like to act. Like, let's see Domino play like a Jamaica song, or like, you know, like a real one. It's not gonna happen, right? But it's not that hard. I mean, that's why you find disco beats in Al Viola, because Gad was on the drum chair, right? You have that stuff in jazz, and it's important to have down, but it's like a drop in the bucket of what you need to be a modern drummer, you know? Like, unless you're a really, really true girl, ain't no one going to let you, going to hire you if all you can do is about all the other parts? Right? Like, what about all the other parts? They matter more, I think. I mean, I wouldn't spend, like, there's one thing that you can do which is cool is start playing groups of 5 and 7. Or, I guess the coolest beat of all with that is actually the most simple. It's this interpol, right? See, so it's basically all of your bass drums sound super complicated, but since they're on the open hi-hat, they're not. Pretty much uses that, but it uses that as a system. It's not the final product, it's a system. That's a system in you breed, right? To make music within that. Just highlight this. You know, like, you have to have some kind of modern stuff going on in the background of this. Like, I just don't get it, like, anyway, so that's pretty much the full quintuplet course, right? Like, there's almost nothing else you can do that we haven't talked about in this course. I mean, it's important to go back to the to the Flamtap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, We can talk about quintuplet jazz, I guess. and start doing some cool stuff, you know, like within the jazz realm. Just listen to Take 5. Now if we want to get into 5, I mean, a really cool beat is a... That's all cool stuff. Obviously, quintuplets can be played in any song, right? So there's one more way that I guess you could play it. Let's say you're in a, like it's the same thing as this, but it's going to be the slower version of that, right? So... So any phrase, you can put it through the quintuplet grid as long as you keep the spacing in the equation the same. And that's how you get these fancily Cleon, Edwards, and Mason jittery chops. It's, I mean, that's the secret, right? And I mean, that's really cool because that means that even if you're not a fast player, you can still start applying metric modulation, right? Because you're just it's one frequency